Oh, welcome to Koala Gardens. You know what? If we can't save the cutest animal in the world, what are we going to do? Make sure you do watch right through for the bonus at the end, and I would love for you to come on down to Area 11 with me and let's spend some time with Matilda. She's agile, she's determined, and you won't believe some of her moves and just how far she can stretch when she wants to get a hold of some of that leaf. Koala Gardens is a wildlife sanctuary on private land. Subscribing helps me bring koalas to you, and liking this video helps me bring them to the whole world. I'm lucky enough to live in the koala's backyard with a wild and free colony on the far north coast of New South Wales in Australia. Check out my Patreon options and come over and chat on my public Discord server. You'll find links for these and lots more in the description below. I'm Katrina, and I'm passionate about saving koalas. Most of the time I come out koala spotting. When I do find koalas, they're asleep. I can get some beautiful photos, a little bit of a glimpse with the video, but it's so exciting when I come along and find something like this. Just look at the position Matilda is sitting in this sapling, and she is munching away like this is total koala heaven. Those leaves are absolutely huge, and she's obviously having a real feast. I come out at different times of the day because there's quite a few things that influence how I'm able to work that into everything else that I have to do. And I'm quite happy to come out at different times because koalas are awake and active according to their needs to eat. They're not awake at the same time every day. So coming out at different times of the day, I always figure, if anything, increases my chance of maybe finding something like this. Now, as you notice, this is quite a long video. I'm not going to talk your ear off the whole way through it. We're going to just enjoy the peace and quiet of the beautiful bush on my property and Matilda making the most of this meal. Now, we're in Area 11 on the property, and I call this area Matilda's Hangout because 90% of the time that I see Matilda on the property, she's here at Area 11. This young tree is a forest red gum sapling. Now, it's quite a mixed species area here in Area 11, which always makes it really interesting for me that Matilda prefers this area, because at the top of Area 11 is Area 10, and in Area 10 there's 3 really large mature forest red gums. And when Matilda first came to the property, I would see her in them quite frequently, but mostly now I see her down in all of the younger trees in Area 11. When I say younger trees, the trees down here are around 10 years old. What's interesting, if you look on the trunk of this little tree she's in, you can see lots of koala claw marks in there. Now let's just zoom out a little bit and get a bit of perspective of how thin the little trunk is on this tree. So even though this tree is about 10 years old, it's been shaded out quite a bit, and so it hasn't grown as large as the other trees in this area. But Matilda is going to make use of every leaf she can get from it during this meal. As I said, Area 11 has a lot of mixed species planting, and a lot of the trees that are in Area 11 are considered secondary food trees. This one is a primary food tree, and there are quite a few swamp mahoganies in that area, and Matilda loves swamp mahogany. But there's also a lot of flooded gum, which is a secondary food tree, and so koalas do eat it and they do like it. But it's really interesting how Matilda has really settled herself into this area that is such mixed species planting. And this is the first area on the property that trees were planted, which was done back in 2011. So, as I said, they're 10 years old. I love the relaxed way Matilda just holds onto that branch of leaf, takes a bit of a bite, has a chew, reaches back over, takes a bit more. Definitely in her absolute element and loving this food. So we've got a fair bit of video ahead, and I'm not going to sit and talk your ear off for the whole of it. I hope that you enjoy watching the amazing ways Matilda reaches up, moves about, climbs through this tree, and yet sits back in a very laid back way, eating at the same time. I'll catch up with you a bit towards the end. Let's just enjoy her. The incredible dexterity of the koala foot. You can really see that that is indeed an opposable thumb on her foot, because she's not just bracing her foot against that small branch there, she is completely holding on to that branch with her foot. And on the lower leg, her right leg, you can see how again with her thumb she's actually holding on to the main skinny trunk of this small tree. This is actually one of the smallest of the trees in this whole plantation area. And what you can see is that Matilda is pretty much stripping it completely of leaf. The other trees that are about the same age are more than twice the height of this tree. So what happens is if one tree is shaded out a bit, it will grow slower. And of course the taller trees that are getting the sun on their leaves, which gives them their energy, continue growing taller and taller. But it doesn't mean that it's not good eating leaf on this young tree, and Matilda is going to take as much of it as she can get. Seeing her get that great big leaf in her mouth just about makes you feel like cheering, doesn't it? Hooray, Matilda! It always amazes me that the corners of koalas' mouths are not all cut and split, because I swear if I had to eat a tough leaf like that, the corners of my mouth would just hurt all the time. And yet the koala's mouth is completely adapted to eating these kinds of leaves this way. It seems at times like she's totally stripped that tree and there aren't any leaves, and yet she's got another handful on the end of that branch there, and there's, quite a mealful of leaf still being held in her hand. Persistence pays off, Matilda. Looking up from this angle, you can really see that nose pattern of hers and how the pink goes right down through to her mouth. Now we'll really see the power and strength of those feet for holding on. Matilda has completely let go. She's balanced on these tiny thin twigs, but her feet are gripping as well as any hands could. Matilda is also sitting back on that hard cartilage plate that koalas have on their lower back area. Do you know what animal do they share that feature in common with? There's only one other marsupial that has a hard cartilage plate. Write the answer if you know it in the comments below. If you don't, have a look in the comments below and see if anybody else worked it out. It was quite interesting because you will have noticed that quite a few times just over the last 5 or so minutes of video, Matilda would seem to be alerted to something, would stop chewing, just do that freeze, keep chewing again. At one point, she even looked down at me, looked around, but I couldn't hear anything different going on. So there was something that she was becoming more aware of that she'd been quite ignoring, but I was oblivious to it the whole time. Well, Bullet might be the best acrobat, but Matilda is the most elegant, or actually, maybe is that most unladylike, whilst being elegant, acrobat. She is certainly determined to get every edible leaf from this young tree. You can see that higher up above her there are still some leaves, but Matilda knows that if she goes up too much higher, she's going to make this sapling top heavy and it is going to start bending over towards the ground and become quite dangerous. So even though it seems like, but she's on such spindly bits now, koalas have an amazing sense of where is stable and where really is safe, even though a lot of the time to us, wherever they are doesn't look stable enough. And Matilda is finally winding down. With all that leaf in her stomach, she will be becoming more and more sleepy, and you can see her wedging herself in, finding a bit of a comfortable position, and she is literally going to fall asleep where she stopped eating. Well, I do hope that you have enjoyed going down to Area 11 with me and just watching Matilda have the most filling and enjoyable meal of forest red gum. And now I've got the bonus photo for you. I took one of the photos that I took. So what I do is I often film a bit of video, stop, take a few photos, film some more video. And this is one of the still photos that I took, and then applied quite a few layers of processing to it to give quite a different effect to Matilda, and I hope that you enjoy it. I will be putting this one up onto Redbubble, and you would be able to purchase it on various different pieces of merchandise. The different bonus photos are available on different merchandise because the actual size and shape of them suits different merchandise differently. I moved to leave the area a bit. Matilda woke up a tiny bit. I stopped, looked back at her, thanked her for her time, and guess what? You have made it through to the end of another video. So would you stop and write in the comments below, munch all day, Matilda. Thanks for watching. Do stay tuned. So much more koala videos still to come. Thanks for visiting Koala Gardens. Did you hit the like button? Now before you go, there's lots more great video to see, and make sure you've subscribed and hit that notification bell.